Delegation, Pembrokeshire Area Airport Commission, Jennifer Lehman and Alan Wren. Welcome to Whitewater, and you may proceed.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Reeve and Council, for having the Pembrokeshire Area Airport here to talk to you tonight about your airport. So, some new faces from the last time we were here in June of 2014, and we came to talk about future infrastructure needs at the Pembrokeshire Area Airport. There is a list of what we talked about back then, and we're here tonight to tell you how we're planning on moving forward with those infrastructure improvements. So just to touch on what the municipal levy looks like today, today there are 6 owner municipalities who pay a municipal levy to the airport. Our total budget is $550,000. And each municipality pays a levy, Whitewater Region today being $9,985.07. Total municipal levy from the 6 municipalities is just a touch under $70,000, or $1.12 per capita. How do we compare to other airports in the area? We did a review back in 2014, and it's listed there of the number of owners of each airport and what their actual per capita levy to that airport is. The closest one on that list to the Pembroke Airport would be Stratford, closest in size of runway and operation, and they're at $3.08 per capita. Just to reference something in our local area, we look at Armprara Airport, which is $12.32 per capita. So what we have here, regions with certified airports have a unique advantage as they bring communities a connection to the world. The Pembrokeshire Area Airport is one of only 5 certified airports in Eastern Ontario, and we're also larger than Kingston Airport. The airport is a unique asset. Aviation is a high-paying, specialized industry. The airport provides the area with an opportunity to grow its world-class presence. So what's the plan moving forward? So what we're going to look at is there's 3 spreadsheets, and we're going to look at the first one, which is the 10-year infrastructure plan spreadsheet. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through the bottom half of that spreadsheet. So under Infrastructure Ontario, the airport would be able to borrow money at municipal rates from Infrastructure Ontario when a project comes due. This funding would allow the airport to finance a project immediately. The airport could borrow up to $1 million from Infrastructure Ontario with a repayment of over 10 years of $132,000 per year. The Infrastructure Ontario dollars show up as revenue, the money that we would borrow, and as an expenditure, the cost to repay that loan on the spreadsheet. Borrowing would only occur if project was going to move forward. So the first item would be fuel tanks. So replacement of the fuel tanks is critical for the airport because fuel sales account for 40% of our annual operating income. The ability to refuel is also a necessary component for supporting medevac flights, both airline and helicopter, firefighting operations, and other community quality of life services. That cost is approximately $350,000 to replace those tanks in the fueling system. There are some facts that would affect that cost. So whether those tanks would be above ground, below ground, or mobile, identical replacement to what we have today, larger or smaller, whether the airport continues to purchase from a variety of suppliers or forms a partnership with one supplier in a return for contribution to the fuel tank replacement. So the runway is about $800,000 cost. This would be a shave and pave operation only, and the factors that would influence that dollar figure would be whether the pavement load rating would need to be increased, so that increase prior to resurfacing. If the pavement load rating does need to be improved, this would increase the cost of the runway resurfacing. Whether sections of the length of the runway are resurfaced versus the entire 5,000 feet at one time, whether sections of the width of the runway are resurfaced versus the entire 100-foot width at one time. If the load rating needed to be increased, the entire runway would have to be resurfaced all at the same time. So taxiways and aprons, these are the paved areas on the airport that are used for not used for takeoff and landings. Taxiways are paved areas used to get aircraft from the runway to a parking location, from the parking locations to the runway. Aprons are the paved areas where aircraft are temporarily parked for short visits or refueling. Resurfacing these areas are estimated to be about $250,000. This would only be resurfacing areas in the most need. As the taxiway runs the full length of the runway, resurfacing this pavement would need to be considered over a longer period of time. The hangar. The airport currently earns income from one hangar. That hangar is at capacity today. With the new tenants now located in the hangar, there is no room to attract another tenant, and thus no opportunity to increase income. In addition, in order to attract new business to the airport, the ability to house that new business is required. The airport has lost 3 clients due to not having building for them to move into. Factors that would affect the cost of the hangar: if the hangar would solely be used for aircraft storage or would include office space, the size of the hangar based on above, and the type of hangar, possibly a T hangar for individual aircraft, something similar to the current. Equipment. The airport's equipment is for the most part 10 to 15 years older than any municipal equipment. In 2014, the Airport Commission requested its owners to let the airport know of any equipment they would be replacing. Despite being replaced for the age at the municipality, it still would be significantly newer than what the airport is currently using today. Factors affecting the cost would include the ability to replace airport equipment with old municipal equipment, and the need to replace an airport-specific piece of equipment, for example, a runway sweeper. Lighting. In 2014, the airport spent $50,000 to replace underground wiring for lighting that had gone out on us. On the airfield, there are 252 lights that need to be replaced. The suggested course of action would be to change to LED lighting, and that cost has been provided in our Lumex report of 2015. Factors affecting that cost would be rebates that could be available to switch to higher efficiency lighting. So renovations. So above the current hangar, there's a classroom and office space that has not been renovated since the building was built. The area needs new windows, flooring updates, and general renovation work in order to make it attractive as a business space. There's also offices on the main level that could benefit from upgrading in order to attract tenants. A 3rd floor is also in need of renovations, so we've allotted $45,000 for those renovations. So the factors that would affect the cost there, whether we renovate in advance of tenants to market this space or renovate to suit to a specific tenant, whether current tenants may wish to expand into that space. So marketing, we've allotted $24,000 a year for marketing. This would include the cost to pursue business leads and promotional expenses. Making businesses aware of the opportunities at the airport is critical to developing the investment at the airport. Marketing also handles grant applications, website updates, event organizations, and fundraising. We've also included a contingency. Every year, if this contingency was not used, it would go to general infrastructure improvements. So, on the revenue side, again, we're looking at the same spreadsheet, and we're going to look at the top half and the generators, the revenues, and how we plan to generate those. As previously noted, Infrastructure Ontario would be the money that we would borrow. Grants. The airport will continue to seek out additional government funding for projects that can contribute to the infrastructure improvements. The grant income is dependent on the types of grant programs available for applications at provincial and federal levels. The grant strategy is based on the past 3 years of granting agency opportunities. New business. The airport will actively pursue new business income to support the infrastructure improvements. The new business comes from tenants locating on the airport property. Fundraising. The airport has a strong community following in the region and has a strong connection to aviation. This combination will help the airport in connecting with the community to fundraise over a 10-year period to assist on improvement. Fundraising is dependent on municipal levy and will be required to assist in picking up any shortfalls of other revenue-generating areas. Solar income. In 2012, the airport invested in small solar projects. As of 2020, the airport will be earning an annual income from that project of approximately $26,000 per year. This income will contribute $182,000 towards the infrastructure improvements from 2019 to 2025. Once completed, this income will be put toward continuing infrastructure improvements at the airport. So Garrison Petawawa, it's our largest airport user, and today they contribute over $40,000 per year to the airport operations. The airport at present is negotiating with Garrison Petawawa for an increase in their annual fee. That increase will go towards infrastructure improvements. So what does the municipal levy look like moving forward? So option 1 would see the increase of the levy by 2 times. So if we look at Whitewater Region today, the levy is $9,985.07. We'd be looking for an additional $19,970 for a total of $29,955.21. Option number 2 would see that levy just increase by once. So Whitewater Region would go from $99.85 to $19,970. So any of these levy increases would go to infrastructure improvements only. None of that money would go to the regular operation of the facility. So what are you going to get for that? The airport contributes to the local region in a number of ways. So quality of life, medevac flights of approximately 120 per year, Hope Air, a local flight service for those not able to travel to medical appointments, M&R, forest firefighting, wildlife population management, resource management, OPP, a base for law enforcement and search and rescue operations, education, it supports flights for learning disabled children for specialized education, tourism, access to cottagers, aerial photography, aviation tourism, and children, we have an annual free flight for kids at the airport each year. So business and organizational use. More than 100 businesses and organizations use the airport annually. Some of these include utilities, manufacturing, government, retail, agriculture, service professionals, tourism, small business, and international investment. Economic impact. In 2015, the airport's economic impact showed that it contributes $920,000 into the local economy every year. So for $70,000 a year municipalities contribute, they're getting over 13 times return on that contribution. As improvement happens, that return will also grow in the community. So the growth potential. The airport has a unique opportunity to attract pilot and aviation management programs, scheduled service operation, cargo shipments, recreational aviation, example skydiving, and aviation-related industries. These opportunities are all unique to airports. So are we sure we will grow? So our economic impact study noted as follows. Canada has the second largest concentration of aircraft in the world. Canadians are second only to Americans in their use of air travel. 2/3 of the aerospace and defense industry is located in Ontario and Quebec. The aerospace industry in Ontario is the second largest in Canada. 350 companies are located here. With the increased demand in the Asian Pacific and Middle East, global aviation will grow significantly in air travel and manufacturing. The economic impact study noted these points that are unique to the Pembroke Area Airport. So our proximity to Algonquin College in Ottawa and its aviation maintenance program, proximity to Garrison Petawawa and 427 and 450 squadrons, high aviation use, opportunity to recruit retired military aviation personnel for civilian aviation work and business. The restructuring of AECL opens opportunities for dealing with international companies. We have 300 acres of land currently available for development. Airspace is accessible, a huge benefit to flight training. So can you trust us to do this? Prior to 1995, regional airports were funded by Transport Canada. And in 1995, the federal government enacted the National Airports Policy, which saw 100% of the funding leave regional airports and be redirected to city airports, Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, etc. Since 1995, the Pembroke Area Airport has been operating in a fiscally responsible manner. It created a reserve fund from which it has funded over $600,000 of improvements. It also operates with only 13% needed from its municipal owners, extremely unusual for municipally owned assets. This is an operation you can be proud of as an owner and have the confidence in making an investment for the future. Be happy to answer any of your questions.
Okay, thank you. Council? Questions? Marcia?
Okay, I just have a question. So for the infrastructure portion that you are requesting, is that going to be based on the total assessment? Are you going to continue that the same way that our current bill is based on?
So yes, so all of the comparison we did, most other airports do their assessment on a per capita basis. The agreement we have with our 6-member municipalities is on assessment.
Yeah, the total
so we just converted back and forth so that we can compare it to other airports.
Okay. And the second thing I wanted to say, just to let council know that I did go back before the meeting and just to check, and I kind of went back as far as 2006. So from 2006 to 2015, our airport commission levy has increased 46% during that period of time in total, just to give you guys a little bit of an idea.
Okay, thank you, Marcia. Other questions? Councillor Olmsted?
2 questions. One is, how is the current levy, what's the math on the current levy? Are all regions treated the same, roughly, or is that something that started years ago and every region basically makes a decision every year plus the 5%? How do we arrive at the current levies for each region?
For each owner municipality?
Yeah.
So it's based on their total assessment, and that's whenever the Transport Canada policy came in and the funding was cut to all airports. So for example, the Pembroke Airport, the last funding we received from Transport Canada for 1 year I believe it was 1994, was a touch over $400,000 is what the funding we got from Transport Canada. In one swipe of a pen, that completely disappeared. So we had to totally restructure the airport, which we did, and then put an agreement together for all 6 municipalities to fund the operational side of the airport.
Go ahead.
Sorry, and question 2 is, over your 10-year scope, is there any consideration given to trying to acquire a commercial tenant? So any kind of commercial travel? I don't think I saw anybody.
So you're talking about scheduled service then?
Yes.
So yes, we actually have a fellow right now who has gone through most of what he needs to go through in order to start a sched service. He's very interested in doing it. The issue today is that from the study we did, it told us that most people that travel would want to travel to Toronto, and they would want to travel to Billy Bishop Airport, which is the island airport in Toronto. The only way to get a slot time is from Porter. At this point, Porter is not giving out any slot times at Billy Bishop. So there are some options for him to fly into some different airports in that area, but it makes it a little bit less attractive.
Thank you.
Okay, Council, anybody else? I have a quick question. Maybe I just missed it here, but is there flight training services being offered right now at the airport?
Right now, there is not.
There is not.
But the fellow that is starting another business at the airport and who is looking at the sched service is also looking at down the road doing some flight training there as well.
I see. Okay, I thank you for your delegation. And Mayor Johnson.
I'm very interested in the participation of Garrison Petawawa. They have tremendous opportunity there to use the Petawawa Airport, the Pembroke Airport, and it's capable of handling their C3s and so forth. I believe it can handle up to a stretch 8. I think at one time I was told that. So they have the ability to have a great deal of investment and opportunities in that. I believe the mayors have been asked to have a meeting in the new year with the garrison and with yourself. So I look forward to that. I'm quite interested in that. And as you have mentioned in your presentation, 427 Tactical Squadron and the 450 Squadron, which is brand new on the base, their support would be very attractive at the airport, I'm pretty sure. So anyway, thank you very much for your presentation.
You're welcome. So just on that, they are our biggest user. They also have a seat at the table. So they have a non-voting seat at the table so that we're always cognizant of what's going on at the base and their needs for the airport. They have supported the airport over the years 100%. With this negotiation, I can't tell you much about it yet because it's not finished, but they are very involved in the airport and will continue to be very involved in the airport. They will be a very willing partner with us.
Okay, thank you again. And any further questions? And we're good this time, and we'll consider that at our budget talks. And
just for your information, my municipality, Laurentian Valley, was the first municipality we gave this to, and they actually have passed a motion in support. So what they passed was in 2016 increasing the levy by 1, and in 2017 going up again.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, accessibility report 2016 budget considerations. Hope Dillabo.
I don't have anything additional to add to my report other than perhaps the budgeted amount for the Cobden Arena. We did put down 50,000, but it might be an unrealistic number at the moment. We don't have anything concrete until we get a set of drawings and until we find out if we get Trillium funding or not.
Christine?
Thank you, Chair. So the purpose of me asking Hope to put this report together is so that we'd have some numbers to be able to plug into our budget discussions. We've got the Beachburg Arena amount. We've got a guess at the Cobden Arena. If we're successful in getting 3/4 of the project funded, I know the chief building official figured that the Cobden Arena upgrades are probably going to be around the $200,000 mark. So we thought, based on the information that we know now, budgeting 50,000 would be within the ballpark should we be able to snag some funding. And then the tourist booth has already been budgeted from last year. Additionally, we have a $30,000 federal grant. Marcia had suggested that we keep the $60,000 that we budgeted in 2015 and just roll it over in case we need it or the project goes over, and then if it's unspent, that can go into another project. So that's just the purpose of this. Nothing to be decided. I know that the Chair of Corporate Services, who's not with us this evening, was concerned that there'd be decisions made tonight. That this information is simply presented to you to get it on the radar for budget consideration.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Okay, that concludes the Corporate Service Committee. And committee. Next is Dave Mackay with the Public Works. Chair Dave Mackay. You can have the hot seat.
Okay, I'd like to call this committee to Public Works to order, and we'd like to introduce, I was going to say Steve Jobs. I was going to say Steve Jobs, but no. What is it? Steve Webster from JP2G. Steve Jobs is not going to make it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have a PowerPoint presentation, and basically it just mimics the package, or my letter. It just goes into a little more in-depth. Actually, I do have copies. You want me to hand out copies of the PowerPoint presentation as well? Would that be beneficial? Sure. Yep. No, exactly. Yep. Okay, so tonight I'm making a presentation on the site servicing study for the Wren subdivision that was prepared by J.L. Richards. So it's really a peer review that was done by our company. So for everybody's benefit, this is the document that we're reviewing. So we didn't quite hand it out to everybody. So I'm I don't know. That's up to Matt. Matt and DEI paid for it. We didn't have anything to do with that. So the role, just to I guess start out, the role of our company in this process. So as I said, J.L. Richards is the one that has prepared the report for the developer. So we're just undertaking a peer review of this study that was prepared by J.L. Richards, and to provide which this report provides an overview on the servicing strategy for the proposed Wren subdivision. And so over the last number of months, it's probably 6 or 7 months, we've been working with township staff to review that the proposed servicing, in this case water, storm, and sanitary, that is noted within the study is in keeping with the standards used within the township and other municipalities within Renfrew County. So I guess part of the reason why I say other municipalities in Renfrew County is that, you know, this type of development is fairly new to Whitewater region, the one on full services. I mean, there's been developments in Beachburg, but that has been taking place on partial services. So this is really one of the first developments in a long time that's been taking place on full services. So we did use some of the standards that we use in other municipalities in Renfrew County. So the development itself, you've seen this picture before, but they're looking at doing 73 additional lots in 3 phases. So if we look up on the screen, in context, this is True Love, this is Wren Drive, so this is existing Wren Drive, existing Morrison Drive, so the Crescent Care is located in this area. So phase 2 of the project is this basically loop, continuing the loop road in this area. Phase 3 would be a much larger crescent over in this area, and then phase 4 they are proposing is a couple of little cul-de-sacs. So that's the extent of the development. As far as the servicing, dealing with the sanitary sewer, servicing for development will discharge to existing pumping station located at the end of True Love that was constructed to service part of this development. And in a second I'll provide an overall map so we can go through that. Just want to note that the existing sanitary pumping station is currently experiencing high flows due to foundation drain connections, breaks, and cracks in the existing sewer, and of lack of properly constructed ditches along Morrison Drive. And that was all noted in a previous report that J.L. Richards did, which was entitled The Wren Subdivision Phase 1 Drainage Inflow and Infiltration Investigation. Yep.
If I could just interrupt right there, Steve, and we do have a Small Communities Fund grant application in right now, expression of interest, to fund the Wren subdivision remediation project, which would look after a lot of these deficiencies in terms of ditches, etc. However, I haven't heard back yet on whether we'll be invited to make a full application for that funding. It's still at the expression of interest stage.
Yeah, and actually should have said at the beginning of the presentation, if anybody has any questions, please interrupt me as I'm going through. I'd rather deal with a question as I'm going through rather than holding everything to the end. Again, just the map up on the plan, or sorry, up on the wall, it shows it's the detailed plan that's in the report that shows how the area is to service. But again, just for familiarity, the pumping station that we're referring to is basically down in this area, down at the end of True Love, right beside the LCBO. So the intent is to basically drain. So in these lots in this area would drain sanitary-wise back onto the end of Morrison Drive and drain down through that area. The remainder, basically all this area of the development, would drain down this street and then tying in to the extension of Wren Drive. So it's basically a split drainage. So these lots go into the top end of Morrison. Everything else goes into Wren, which ultimately makes its way to the pumping station down at this location. The township will need to implement the recommended improvements along Morrison Drive in order to provide sufficient capacity in the existing pumping station to accommodate all the projected flows for the remainder of the Wren subdivision. This can be done in conjunction with the development of the subdivision, and as Christine said, you have a funding application in to do that work. So it's just a heads up that yes, there is a pumping station there that ultimately has capacity, but we need to do some remediation work to try and get rid of those inflows that are currently getting in there in order to allow all of the subdivision to drain to it. As far as stormwater management or storm drainage goes, the intent is that the roadways are being designed with a shallow swale and a perforated storm sewer system. So this is not going to be an urban, cross-section, so there's not going to be any curbs. It's basically just going to be a continuation, somewhat of the look of the road would be similar to what's on Morrison Drive at the moment, but the difference is going to be that there will, rather than just relying on ditches to drain, there will be perforated storm sewer system that will aid in draining the road during a rainfall event. The storm water, I should say, will be conveyed via swales and pipes to a shallow pond located at the northwest corner of the property, and I'll show you that in a second. The pond will be dry for the majority of the time, but will be used to regulate the flow of stormwater off the site during rainfall events. The water level in the pond will have a maximum depth of 0.67 meters. And upon completion the development, the pond will be owned and maintained by the township. So what the pond is really doing, it's regulating the flow of water. So when we do get a rainfall event, it will hold back some of the water and then allow it to slowly drain into the McLeod drain to drain away from the site. Yes?
Sorry, just a question. Just to back up the perforated storm sewer. Will that be incorporated along Morrison Drive now as well? So along the currently developed property, or is that just for the new development?
It's for the new development. We are also looking right now, it's because we're still in the preliminary stage. We have discussed about looking at if there's an ability to extend it in the future to Morrison Drive. But that would be a town cost, that would not be a developer cost. The developer is not responsible for fixing an existing situation, but we are looking at if there are ways that we can piggyback, let's say, on the work that the developer is doing to provide an outlet for the drainage on Morrison Drive.
I think that would be part of it should be looked at as part of the remediation of the current issues along Morrison Drive.
Correct, yes.
So that could be maybe fall in the scope of the application that we've already sent in.
Really, I guess right now the scope of the application is a kind of a standalone project to deal with it the way it is currently. But as we get further along with the detailed design, or with J.L. Riches gets further along with the detailed design, what I'll do, I'll go to the next slide, and then maybe I can explain it better. Actually, 2 more slides. Yeah, no, that's fine. It's a good question. So as I did allude, the drainage from the pond will discharge into the existing McLeod drain that runs along the west side of the property. Improvements will be made in the drain in order to increase the flow of water through it. So if again, this is one of the documents that's in the report. So again, this is really phase 1 here in the current development. So what's going to happen is the drainage, the stormwater management pond that I'm referring to is in this area of the site. So it's a fairly large area. If you look, it's probably 7 or 8 lots inside. So it's a fairly large pond, which is going to use to regulate the flow. So the roads, grade, and the ditches, everything is going to slope so that the flow of water will get to this point, and then it'll drain into the stormwater management pond. This is the McLeod drain in here at the moment. So the water from this pond goes into the McLeod drain and then makes its way across the neighboring property and over to Muskrat Lake. Christine?
And just so as a reminder, the spirit of intent of cooperation with BEI right from the very beginning was having J.L. Richards do this engineering, that we would have peer reviewed on behalf of the township so that we could simultaneously work on correcting the existing problems as we move forward with this phase 2. So that was the intent right out of the gate, that we've all been working quite and communicating very well.
So, Chris, to get back to your question, so right now the drainage from the current development basically goes down Morrison, goes down Wren Drive to a ditch that is beside Crescent Care, and then makes its way into the McLeod drain. So it's actually kind of going, this circuitous route is kind of actually going almost upstream, if you want to say, and then making its way downstream again. So a couple of things we're doing here. The idea is to look at lowering and improving McLeod drain, which will help get the water, move the water out of this area quicker. The one thing I've asked them to look at is basically at this corner here, right at the corner, instead of the water going down to this existing drain beside the Crescent Care, is can we instead intercept that water and basically drain it this way to the pond? So if we can do that, then we can hopefully improve, and that's one of the key features we're looking at, trying to improve the drainage on Morrison, is to do that. Right now, the next step in the process, so this is really their preliminary analysis of how they're going to service it. The next step in the process is for them to start doing the detailed design. So once they do the detailed design, we'll have a better idea on how the grades, what the grades actually are on the development and on the roads. And through that exercise, we'll be able to determine is this a feasible solution? Is this something that we can do? Christine?
That's part of the reason why at the brief council meeting following this council and committee meeting, we're asking for ratification of the vote that you accept this plan so the engineers can get on with the detailed work.
Any more questions on the pond? Yes, Hal? Yeah, it's just
I'd say right now, in a very quick estimation, that of that entire property, 80% of the water flow comes down Morrison Drive right now. So I think in having the phase 2 and 3 and 4 sloped away and back towards the pond, I think that's going to alleviate probably half the problem.
Yeah.
But I think some remediation along Morrison Drive needs to be handled as well. And I like your idea about maybe be able to pull flow right from the end of Morrison and Rand Drive. We can pull that away as well. I think that would help.
We just got to see if we've got enough grade. I mean, part of the issue is that whole area is fairly flat out there, so as long as we have positive drain, then we can make it work. Water servicing, and there was a slight error in my report that I provide. I indicated a 150 millimeter water main. Instead, the proposal is a 200 millimeter water main will be used to service the development, extending from Morrison Drive and Wren Drive. This is a little key one here. Based on the computer modeling prepared by J.L. Richards' office, it was determined that the projected fire flows within some of the development will be below MOECC, which is Ministry of Environment, and OBC, which is Ontario Building Code criteria. So based on discussions between township staff, J.L. Richards staff, and our office, recommended that the township fire department may have to provide supplemental water for firefighting by using their shuttle tanker service. So what this is about is when they did their fire flow analysis and they took a kind of standard 2-story house, in parts of the development there would be not quite enough water volume to fight the fire. There's a couple of options. I mean, one option was to limit the housing development to just single-story houses, bungalows. Actually, Matt, do you remember what the other ones were? Or? I'd have to look in the reports. But anyways, there's a couple of ways of getting around it. So, and really what it is the concern is probably right now just with some of the existing infrastructure within the town system. In other words, the existing water system. There's probably not enough capacity to get enough water to the area just in the phase 2. So our recommendation is that it just be the fire department be made aware that if there ever was a fire in the area that they may have to provide supplemental water. Okay. And Bill was involved in some of those discussions as well, so. Correct. Yeah. So this is this kind of the next bullet is, and the other option would be to look at water main extension to Highway 17 to loop into the water main on Highway 17 to do that. So that's going to provide better fire flows. You're also going to get better circulation within the system. And right now, you're going to provide a little bit of better redundancy because the way the development currently is situated, there would only be one water main servicing that entire area, being the water main along Morrison Drive. So I think right now there's probably some more investigation that needs to be done within the water system itself and what other improvements there are. I know also there is a project out there, that you're looking at reconstructing True Love, and there may be an ability to upsize the water main on True Love as well. That would help the situation. So it's just a little bit of a note out there, and hopefully by the time the houses are built, that we'll have a complete answer. But right now, based on the modeling that they've done to date, it does show a little bit of a warning sign. Christine?
Dave, just so you're aware, our grant application for the upgrades for True Love was declined.
Okay. So, impact on existing lots. So this really kind of deals with the lots on Morrison Drive. Oh. Can I make a comment on the lots? Yep, sure, Matt.
On the last page, having to do with the options for covering the fire flows, there are several options, and no, I can't remember them all. But there is a requirement from J.L. Richards that we have agreement from the township, from the municipality, that it'd be a little stronger wording. It'd be the pumper truck will be made available in the event of a fire to cover any kind of a short flow. From a safety standpoint, it's got to be in there before we can go ahead with detailed design. So we have to have some kind of agreement or signed document of some sort.
Bill, do you have anything to add to that?
talked about this originally, and we didn't see it being a problem. You know, if there was a fire paged out in that area, they just knew they would have to bring extra tankers, that's all. We've done it before in other parts of the township, in the villages where there was water hydrants, that we had dispatched tankers at the same time in order to, you know, if there was pumps were down in Beachburg or something like that. So it's not uncommon for the fire department to do it as well.
Thank you.
Okay, so dealing with the lots on Morrison Drive, right now JL Richards are feeling that the servicing strategy that they put forward is going to have an overall positive impact on water conveyance when the existing lots on Wren Drive, and it's kind of as Chris said, for a number of reasons. First of all, the regrading of a portion of McLeod Drain will help ensure we get positive drainage, so it's going to get the water out of there quicker. Construction of a shallow swale and perforated storm sewer system in the remainder of the development that conveys the storm water and some of the groundwater to the pond located in the northeast corner of the site. So the perforated pipe, not only is it going to allow the surface water to be taken away, but it should, if the groundwater is high in some of those areas, which it will, the idea is hopefully that will help to lower the water table in those areas upstream of the Phase 1 lots or the existing lots. And it should result in an overall reduction in the drainage area, draining towards the existing lots, again, as Chris just said, and a reduction in runoff infiltrating into the ground upstream of Phase 1 due to hardened surface and stormwater conveyance system to the pond. So basically, the recommendation is that our office can confirm that we have reviewed the study and that we agree with the recommendations contained in it, and it would be our recommendation that council accept the report at this time. The next step, as I indicated, and as Matt indicated, is, subject to council endorsing it, JL Richards would then prepare the detailed design drawings for the construction of the roads and the servicing for review, again, by our staff in consultation with township staff. Any further questions?
So there is a motion, which is moved by Darryl McLaughlin, seconded by Terry Miller. Be it resolved that the Public Works Committee of the Township of Whitewater Region recommends that Council accept the Wren subdivision Phase 2 site servicing study provided by J.L. Richards and Associates, prepared for Bonisher Excavating, Inc., and peer-reviewed by Township Engineer Steve Webster, JP2G Consulting Engineers.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Chair?
Mr. Olmsted?
Do we need to add a clause in there regarding the fire tanker truck?
I need something.
So
I need something,
do we
yes,
want to add
please.
that into the motion, or is that a separate discussion? What is that?
I need him to start detailed design.
So can we add that to the motion now then?
Matt, you might have a suggestion for the language?
Probably the wording should be that the township commit to provide supplemental shuttle/tanker service in the event of a fire within the development. Right.
then the wording would match the report and
Yep.
there'd be,
What did I say in that?
So to that particular motion, I added the Township Fire Department will commit to provide supplemental water for firefighting by using the shuttle tanker service. Is that sufficient?
We're gonna vote again on that.
thank you.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. All right, get that all done. Okay. Thanks very much, Steve and Matt. Presentation.
Thank you.
Now we're gonna do the tenders, I guess, Bill? Is it Bill? Oh, yeah, you got the handheld mic rail.
So the first one I have here, moved by Terry Miller, seconded by Kathy Regier. Be it resolved that the Public Works Committee of the Township of Whitewater Region recommends to Council that tender number PW-7-2015 garage door replacement, Westmeath Garage, be awarded to Brown's Window Door and Glass for $22,292.92, tax included.
Do you want to just vote on it? Do you want to add? Any discussion on that? Bill?
As requested, we did do reference checks, and references came back for the both companies' outstanding references. So, and as we go ahead, you'll see there's another tender that we can do the same thing with.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, I guess we're gonna vote on that. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
So the second one, moved by Kathy Regier, seconded by Darrell McLaughlin. Be it resolved that the Public Works Committee of the Township of Whitewater Region recommends to Council that the RFP for a heating system at the Mindview Garage be awarded to JW HVAC Services for $24,170.70, tax included.
Any questions on that? All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
The third one, moved by Darrell McLaughlin, seconded by Terry Miller. Be it resolved that the Public Works Committee of the Township of Whitewater Region recommends to Council that tender number PW-10-2015 garage door replacement Mindview Garage be awarded to Dennis Run Construction for $28,052.25, tax included.
Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. That's so easy. Shut that off.
So for item number 4, Broom Road, conveyance. Oh, my bad. Sorry, number 3, rehabilitation of County Road 8, which is Main Street. I believe Christine has an update.
Yeah, there is a motion prepared for that, so, I know Bill has a meeting set up for Friday with the county, but basically, they are going to be, next September, after the summer rush is over, the county is redoing Main Street Cobden from the train tracks through to Highway 17. And they have invited us to take advantage of piggybacking and becoming part of the tender, if there were works that we wanted to accomplish. Bill and I had a discussion about this. The sidewalks are pretty bad. They're cracked and uneven. So Bill's looking into getting some pricing on having that concrete work done. So basically what the county's asking is we don't have to commit to anything until March 1st. All they're asking is that by December 18th, that we let them know if we're interested, which is not a commitment. That yes, we are interested, we can get our design work, our engineering work together, and if the price is right and we figure that we can do it, or we want to, or you want to do it, then we get all the documentation to them by March 1st to get included in the tender, which will go out in April. So this is now basically just, are you interested in throwing a chip in the game or not?
Are they tearing up the whole street, or are they just resurfacing like they did in Beachburg?
Some of it will be a resurfacing, and there are a couple spots along that they're looking at doing a dig and replace a couple soft spots, one right here at the corner. But mostly it's a shave and pave. On Friday we're having it's not even a pre-kickoff meeting, it's all the stakeholders that are involved that have utilities in the right-of-way have been invited here Friday morning for a quick meeting. Just the county's going to go over what's going on, and for instance, Enbridge Gas has been invited in case they want to redo their infrastructure while the street's being tore up, rather than 2 years from now dig a brand new street up. So we're trying to get ahead of the race here and get everybody good and well advance notice to get their plans together for what work has to be done.
Don't we have sewers to fix there and storm drains?
Everything was replaced in, I believe, the 90s on Main Street, mid-90s. Yeah, so our infrastructure under the street's not in too bad a shape yet.
Okay, thanks. Christine?
So if you're in agreement, we didn't prepare a motion for this, but that if there is consensus, Bill will go to the meeting, express interest on Friday morning. Again, we'll get the pricing. We'll have to look at it in budget time as part of Public Works. And if you folks feel that that's how you want to progress, then we have to have our ducks in a row for March 1st in terms of engineering.
Okay, all in favor? Oh, sorry. Chris? Sorry.
Even if you...
You're far away,
Yeah, two questions, Bill. One is, how far into Cobham did they come from the first project? I think about 2 or 3 years ago.
They came to the tracks.
So they did come all the way to the train tracks?
Yeah.
So what's the issue we're having just the other side of the train tracks where we have that raised storm sewer? I think the county trucks have actually hit that 2 or 3 times. And then for about 3 months we have to have a cone on top of that because it's raised literally about 5-6 inches off the ground.
Seemingly the frost is pushing it up just at a certain time of year. That's what seems to be going on.
So can we make that part of the scope of this project to
I'll talk to the county guys about it. Yeah, makes sense. Good thing you brought that up. I believe it's a sanitary, but I'm not 100% sure.
That would be the sanitary that goes over to the apartment building?
Or...
No, it's off the road, right?
Yeah,
I'm just thinking it might be responsibility of the county.
it could possibly. To be honest, I haven't opened the lid.
Okay.
Any other questions? Excuse me.
So just for a quick thing, I did get some quick prices to do the entire length of sidewalks in Cobden, which I don't think we'll be looking at, but you're looking up around $150,000, I would think. So.
Christine?
So, Bill, once we get, you continue to work on pricing, and then it'll come
We'll come back
it'll
for
come
budget,
into
yeah.
a budget discussion, and we'll see.
I'll try and give you a couple of options, total, patch, and something in between.
Okay, do you want to vote on that, whether you agree? We don't have to vote on it? Oh, wait, Darrell, Councilor McLaughlin?
I think what we were looking for was consensus,
Okay.
and I'm in favor of it. So
All right.
if you're looking for consensus, I'll vote towards it.
I think everybody's good for it. I think we can do it.
Oh, just show of hands?
Right.
Bob, is that how you're going to do it?
Sure. Okay, do you want to read that one now?
So for item number 4, Broom Road conveyance, for Eric and Philip Broom, we do have a motion. Moved by Terry Miller, seconded by Darryl McLaughlin. Be it resolved that the Public Works Committee of the Township of Whitewater Region recommends to Council that the Township accept a conveyance of 33 feet from center line of the portion of Broom Road located within roll number 049-055-30700 for road purposes. Property owners Eric and Philip Broom will be responsible for their own legal title, registration, and survey costs. The Township will pay the municipal portion of legal costs for this transaction. Any upgrades required to Broom Road shall be borne by the municipality. In the event that the barn, buildings, fences, or hydro poles that are located on the Broom's property need to be moved, any costs associated with this work shall be borne by the municipality. A timeline of 6 months must be specified for the survey to be registered on title.
All in favor? Oh, wait. Questions, Mayor?
Yeah, they've come a long way in what they're willing to give us, and I think we should support them.
Councillor McLaughlin?
Also, I think in the original discussions, it was the portion of the road before that that's owned by Mr. Kowalski. And I wonder if we could, at this time, if we're going to get this portion done and the other portion that Mr. Kowalski has already in favor of doing it, if it all couldn't be done, and then the complete road would be deeded back. So I'm wondering if we need to give direction to the CAO to ask Mr. Kowalski if he would be interested in doing that portion of the road as well.
Mayor Johnson?
I understand that's all of their intentions at this point.
There has never been anything brought to the table for the first section from Grand Settlement Road to the property owned by Brooms is what I'm talking about.
Oh, we own that. From Grand Settlement Road to the corner where it ties into the Brooms property, we own that already.
Do we? That's news to me.
Oh, I think so.
Christine?
If you'll go to page 144, Karen, you could put it up, please. I think you'll see the property in question. What has been conveyed to the township was only the portion within Eagle's Nest property.
Thank you. That's what my thoughts are anyway.
Do we have it? Okay, we're getting, okay, so it's the very first piece there, I believe, or it's the first two pieces. Is that right? Dave, the mayor?
Oh, Mayor Johnson?
I think Councilor McLaughlin's talking about the section that comes up the little hill from Grand Settlement to, okay, and to my knowledge, that is already the ownership of the township. Maybe we better clarify that.
So I'm confused now. Which of these pieces?
No, it's from Grand Settlement up to where Brooms start.
Oh. Okay, well, if you give me a specific direction, I will certainly take it, but I'm afraid right now I don't understand.
Let's verify immediately or as soon as possible that the section from Grand Settlement Road to the Brooms property is at present time owned by the township. I believe that's what I always understood was owned by the township.
Councilor McLaughlin?
I wonder if we approach Mr. Kowalski, he would very quickly tell us whether it was or wasn't. He would be the person who would know. Maybe you know because you also have a lot of experience with the roads. To my knowledge, the whole road was not. Originally in our discussions, I know we talked about the whole road. So that's where I'm coming from. But anyway, I think what we should do is get the CAO to give us direction to see Mr. Kowalski, or, maybe I'll ask Bill. Do you know whether that portion is forced road or not?
I'm not sure at this time. I'd have to look into it.
Johnson?
Maybe Doug would know. Doug could find that quicker than anybody. All right.
So, if I may ask, Mr. Mayor, or anyone else who can tell me, which of these pieces then is the first conveyance we did for Eagle's Nest? That's done, and now we've figured out the brooms. I want to make sure I get this straight. Is it the bottom? The third mention of Joe Kowalski, is that the Eagles?
Yeah, you're back up there, aren't you? There's Philip and Joe Kowalski.
It would be the third part.
Okay.
Up here?
No.
No, coming down towards the river.
There.
From there to there.
That's Eric and, Eric Brooms, that section, right?
No, that's
back
Joe
right there.
Kowalski's, that's where Eagles Nest.
Back there.
That's Eric Brooms right from that line.
Oh, this is Grand Settlement Road, okay.
Yeah.
So my understanding was we owned it to there already. So
Okay.
that's what we'd have to verify.
So it's those first two pieces before the brooms. And then the third mention of Joe Kowalski's name, third down the list, that's the Eagles Nest that we've already had conveyed. That's correct? Okay. I will certainly speak to Joe and get information.
Wait, Doug's looking it up. Doug can help us.
Staff will work on it and bring information back to you.
Actually, it's even farther than that, because that's such a... Yeah, that's the broom line there.
We're going to be voting on the section of land on the Brooms property. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, carried. All right. Christine?
The parking bylaw update, this is a draft for your consideration, not to be passed tonight, but to come to the December 16th meeting. So you'll see a resolution in your package, so this is the next item. On February 18th, it was council's decision to rescind all parking tickets that have been issued to date while the parking bylaw is being revised. Infractions related to issues other than winter control will continue to be enforced. Apparently, the court was not pleased. It caused an awful lot of extra work at the courthouse to cancel all of the tickets that had been issued. So Bill and Doug and Jim McBain and I met in my office and discussed this, and we thought the easiest thing to do would simply be to eliminate section number 10, winter parking restrictions. Bill advised that his crew can work around cars that are parked, so let's just eliminate this problem by taking out section 10. So that's the draft that I've given you to try and solve this problem before we get into it again with snow on the way. And this will come back. You can discuss it tonight if you wish. It will be on the agenda to be passed on December 16th. And if you want to give me other direction for something else you'd like to see, if you don't like this suggestion, fire away.
Any questions? Councilor McLaughlin?
I don't know if this is the time to bring up parking areas. Is that, no parking areas is what I'm concerned about around the Cobden Public School. Is this the time we do that, or can we have that discussion at a further session? Looking for
Christine?
direction.
Well, that would be part of this bylaw, so if there are other changes you want to make to this bylaw, I'd like to have them now so that I can bring it to you to be passed December 16th.
I think I've spoke to Doug before about this. It's the first two parking spots on the right-hand side of Cowie Street where you swing into the school.
Yes, you have spoke to us before, and this bylaw will still work on that. We just gotta put signage up there that we can enforce it there. And we have been working on it. just to take some time from the county to get signs.
Okay, no, just as long as that hadn't been forgotten about, that's, my main concern, 'cause that's where I started first at the school, and the other area that you have done has been well done, and the odd time I think we need Mr. McBain there to give them a little insurance, though.
Okay.
Thank you, Doug.
Will, just so I'm clear, Doug, will that be a further revision to this bylaw? No. Also, Councillor Olmsted points out, and thank you for noticing that, in appendix number 1, which is second to last page of the draft, item number 18 in the set fines should come out because it pertains to parking and snowfall. So that would be one other change. So section 10 would be eliminated, and then 18 on that list of fines would also come off. So if you're in agreement, then that's the version of final draft that I'll bring back to you for December 16th.
Would you want to vote on show of hands, see if you want to agree on that? No? All right.
I just need to know if there are other changes that you want to see so I can work on changing it once instead of 3 times.
Okay. So number 6, ATV county bylaw update information. Christine.
Thank you. So I've included these next 2 items just for information purposes. The county has revised their off-road vehicle bylaw. They've updated it. On Schedule A, you will see that there are now no roads that are restricted within the Township of Whitewater region. And I would like to recommend to you that we let's get through a winter and see if there are any issues. If there are 3 a.m. drag races on the main street of Beachburg, then we're going to have to revisit this, but at the moment that's their update. I know we had a discussion last winter about maybe we needed to put in specifics about, getting off a trail to get gas, etc., and then I think you figured we'll just let it ride and see how it goes and if we need to address it. And then similarly, the next item, 7D7, the county has updated their speed limits. I asked Bill if there was any concern for any of our roads. He indicated there's none, so these 2 pieces are really just for information for you.
Okay. So that concludes our Public Works Committee. Oh, sorry, Darrell?
Well, just on the ATV, I think that was all county road that we had restrictions that I know when it was first brought forward, there are all county roads. So if the county are lifting them, then I don't see why we wouldn't follow suit. It's their roads.
Okay. All right. That concludes the Public Works. Thank you.